Let's just take a moment to get comfortable in whatever seat we're in. It's probably best that we're seated rather than laying down, but if you're in pain and laying down is more comfortable, that's fine. And once you've settled into your seat, just take a few deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. And let your breath settle into its usual rhythm once the body feels relaxed and we feel settled into this space. And just rest attention for a moment on wherever the breath feels most prominent. Maybe it's the rising and falling of the belly or the chest. Maybe it's the nostrils. Maybe the sound feels more prominent than the air. Just wherever attention lands is perfectly all right. And so, like any practice where we try to emphasize the nondual quality of experience, the truth of what we are, rather than exploring experience from the belief in separation, just consciously acknowledge that what's noticing the breath right now, even if it seems like it's this sense of self, that it can't actually be the sense of self that's noticing the breath. And what's noticing the breath must be oneness. It must be awareness or awakeness, consciousness, the various names that we have for oneness, the field of being, the sense of being. It's this single, alive, alert, and aware foundation of experience that is noticing the breath. The sense of self is an appearance, a collection of thoughts. It is something that is appearing within awareness, within oneness, as an expression of oneness, given that there's only oneness. Right? Is it possible for there to be the sense of self plus oneness, given that there's only oneness? That doesn't make sense, right? That would be two. So even if it seems like I, self, am aware of the breath, I'm aware of these sounds, I'm aware of sensation, just notice that no matter how much it seems that way, or how frequently we've believed that that's the case, that it can't actually be true. But let's explore, let's see for ourselves, right? So when you bring attention from the breath to this field of aliveness, this sense of being, just rest attention as this field for a moment. Really, it's resting attention as attention, because attention is simply focused awareness. And notice that we can move attention from the breath to this open, diffuse, wider perspective. And instead of focusing on the breath, the sensations, the sounds, we zoom out without really any effort on the space that all these transient phenomena are appearing within. And so just relax into that perspective for a moment. Meeting experience as this wide open space, this field, rather than something that's appearing within it. And this is our true starting point, if we're going to talk about starting points. No matter what arises in experience, we're always experiencing experience as this field of awake aliveness. We just may be under the impression from time to time that we're experiencing it as something that's appearing within it, like the body or the conceptual self, the sense of self. But given that this field of awake aliveness is primary, because nothing can be experienced without this sense of being, this sense of alive awareness, right? So it must be that this is more primary than the coming and going of thought. So, as this field of alive awareness, explore what it feels like to be you. Is there a boundary to this field of alive awareness? Reach attention out. See if one can be found. I can't find a boundary. One can always be imagined, but just because it's imagined doesn't mean it's there. This is an exercise of taking more conviction, more taking trust in the actual experience of your experience rather than the ideas that we've gathered about our experience. In the direct experience of this alive awareness, can you find a boundary? No. Now, shift attention around and see if you can find a center to this awake aliveness. It may seem like I'm the center or thoughts are the center, but just because something feels closer or more dense doesn't mean that it's the center. Really, that's just describing the quality of that experience, that appearance. This voice may sound very front and center, right? To what's arising within experience. It doesn't mean it's the center. Maybe it just means it's loud or it's prominent. In the same way that sensation may feel prominent, thoughts may feel prominent. The idea of a center is that's an afterthought. That's making an interpretation, taking a jump from just the simple quality of whatever's here and giving it a location, giving it a reference point. And that's okay. That's just what the mind does. We don't have to believe it. And if we can't find a boundary, can there really be a center? Even if there's a sense of center? Is there a center to infinity? Does that make any sense? Infinity is the absence of a boundary. So right off the bat, we're seeing that this primary quality of experience, this awake aliveness, is boundless, is infinite, and doesn't have a center, despite there being a sense of center, or perhaps not. So, how many infinite awake alivenesses can there be? It's not a trick question. It, there can't be, right? can't really have infinity plus, right? That would just be two really big somethings. But it would still be two, and it wouldn't be infinity. But in direct experience, can you find anything outside of this awake aliveness? Again, you can imagine that there could be something, but that would be appearing within this awake aliveness. Isn't that right? So it's ordinary and simple, but it's, if we're being honest with ourselves, undeniably the case that this awake aliveness is boundless. It doesn't have a center. It's infinite. There's nothing outside of it. And, I don't know about you, but I only count one. This experience right now demonstrates that there's only one awake aliveness. Within this awake aliveness is an apparent multiplicity of textures, colors, and shapes, modes of consciousness: hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, thinking, but all arising within this singular, infinite, awake aliveness. The expressions may be limited, the expressions may be finite, but this field of aliveness is infinite. That which all appearances are made of is infinite. Just like an ocean, this is like a boundless ocean with many waves that are coming and going. And we lose sight of the ocean of our being when we just focus on one of the waves or several of the waves. And that's what we do, isn't it? We focus on the sense of self, we focus on thoughts, we focus on the idea that we are within one of the waves or we're one of the waves. We focus on the expression of the aliveness that we are rather than the actual experience of aliveness itself. And so we can see that our experience is always oneness, as oneness. Because there's nothing outside of oneness to be aware of oneness. There can't be infinity plus. That doesn't make sense logically, and it's not our direct experience. So if it ever feels like, this is the moment outside of oneness, I've lost sight of the ocean and I can only see waves. That disorientation, that distress is an invitation to bring attention back to the essence of what's here. To that which doesn't come and go. The felt experience of you, rather than the ideas about you. So, with that, I invite you to open your eyes, shift a little bit in your seat, and bring attention back to this infinite space that you've never left, that's always been here.